Hello, my lovers. It's MJ from Ultralove. How are you? I've spit in my mouth and I got a little bit excited there looking up, being like, oh, we're live. I've, I've been doing the yearly readings this morning. I've managed to do Cancer and Leo. I have a couple private readings to do today, and otherwise I'm having a chillin' Sunday. Because I'm gonna be doing going into the writing for Unplug for Freedom, which is the final installment of the Be the Change courses, the Ultra Love online courses, which I have got to say, they're really practical tools for transformation. And I'm really stoked actually to be completing and then launching all 4 courses on the 2020 approach. I feel that with the age of information, it's all just getting a bit much, and that people will definitely want, desire, need, be forthcoming in the recognition of certain changes being made, and this community ultimately being able to offer those changes in a light-hearted, non-preachy, and fun way. The case study, my now good friend, but case study that did the vegan course, I've just heard from him saying, I'm like pretty much completely vegetarian. So that's been like over a year, maybe just less than a year of making the transition, sitting the 8-week vegan love course, and now coming up to a year, and that has essentially set in this person's life. They're not completely vegan, but one thing I highlighted to them was like, well, that's kind of the point, is like you can make your own choices, but if it's leading you to feel better, then it's a win-win for everybody. And that's something I talk a lot about in the Unplug for Freedom course. It's us becoming more clear, us disengaging from fearful propaganda and indoctrination is in our service, it's in our betterment. And even though and this is the thing about making changes, it's not necessarily that easy for people. That's why we want to offer, step by step, week by week, making little changes that over the long haul create substantial change. And considering, so the 4 week, 8-week, 40 is 48. Is that right? 8 times 4? No, that's wrong. It's 32. But essentially, now we're coming up to Christmas. It's like if you were to buy all 4, it would essentially be like a year's worth of transformational content that by the end of it, you'd be eating better, more aligned with plant-based veganism, possibly. You'll be watching a lot less TV, and so your mind will feel a lot more clear. You'll be implementing regular meditation and maybe yoga movement, or just movement that you enjoy. And you'll be living a lot more sustainably. I would probably recommend, if sustainability is a big piece for you, i.e. like the zero waste stuff, I'd probably recommend getting the zero waste course on the approach to Christmas. Katie actually included in the course like a letter to her parents that she shares with you on the course around like, so how to deal with gifting, basically the art of gifting and receiving zero waste style. So how to make certain more social changes easy for family and friends. And of course, they all aligned. I remember she was well impressed with her grandparents who totally hooked it up. They I think they used string and paper, reused maybe newspaper or something like that. Basically just brown paper reused, and then tied it in rope rather than the plastic tape stuff, right? So it's been pretty monumental as far as pioneering these Be the Change courses, speaking openly about them, and then offering them as actual online courses for people. And I think just because I'm coming to the completion, I've actually just finished editing Unplug for Freedom, and I'm well chuffed, to be honest. Like, I think what really drives home in the Unplug course is truly like how much more clear we are, how much more free we are to think what we want to think, to buy what we want to buy, and to do what we want to do when we're not watching TV. And a lot of people in this community I know are already unplugged. A lot of people in this community are already vegetarian or on their way to being vegan. A lot of people are already doing yoga, meditation, and stuff. From my point of view, it's giving people all the tools they need to make sovereign choices. You know, like ultimately there's a bridge that we're building from one state of being to another, from one way of being to another. And a lot of us in the new paradigm community, that's been our way for many, many years, right? So it our it's like it's a weird thing to think, oh, so just my natural way of being, like just my natural way of living my life is my service to the world, is my gift to humanity, as far as like, oh, how do I shapeshift my perspective? Or how do I make these changes? Well, to be honest, one, they have to resonate with you, and two, I personally find little practical changes on a daily basis are ultimately the best that we can do. Usually when we put too much pressure on ourselves, I've had clients over the years, for example, who they know that yoga, they practice yoga or whatever regularly, and they know, they're like, I need to sit and meditate. I'm not meditating. I need to be able to sit and meditate. And I'm like, well, what's the pressure? Because it's usually a pressurized feeling that inhibits our ability to anchor in the little changes. At the same time, of course, when it comes to more profound changes or deeper layers, that accept that normally we're supported in making those changes, right? Whether we meet people, or we're granted access to go to certain retreats, or certain people line up to share, like that kind of thing happens really naturally. But when we're pioneering fundamental transformation and change, it warrants our practical effectiveness. So, like, for example, one of the tools that I offer in the Fearless Life Guide, my book, and it features, of course, in Spirituality Simplified as well, is creating a meditation station. So there's twofold, that little secret, little results that I'm going to give you, results that you get from the courses and from implementing the Auto Love spirituality piece. It's like a lot of meditation teachers coming from the long held tradition and traditional schools talk about, like, even my own training in Vipassana meditation, it's like meditate for an hour in the morning and an hour at night. And for me, I did that for weeks after Vipassana. And then after a while, I realized I was just sort of like sitting there with the alarm on an hour, just kind of almost waiting for the time to pass. It wasn't like focused, engaged. And when I did away with the kind of structure around it, my meditation practice took on this whole new, evolved, kind of visceral connection from within self. What up, Jessica? And so I liberate that in people. It's not to say that we don't need the discipline, especially if life's pretty stressful and pretty frenetic. And this is always the way, but the people who, like, I don't have time to it, I'm like, you needed the most. So basically what has worked for the majority of my clients in the past who were having a hard time sticking to a regular meditation practice was, one, build it and you shall sit. So creating space, putting a meditation cushion down, creating an altar. Like, I still have an altar after all these years. It's just my space, where I maybe set intentions, or where I will light candles or put special gifts or pieces, that are all part of the life that I'm creating. But it's also a signal of my priority to self-care, my priority to look after self, to listen to self, and all that kind of stuff. So, one, building yourself a sacred space. And if space is an issue, I've had clients, especially the European clients, because space is typically a bit more of an issue over here in Europe than it is in the United States, North America. But literally, I've had clients make space in their closets. Or it could be something as simple as, like, literally just putting a meditation cushion right beside your bed. You might walk past it for weeks on end, and then one day just sit on it, especially if you put like a crystal or just some other tangible like material thing, right? And then the other piece that is often really helpful for people is, like, one, okay, you could have an app, you could have a Headspace or a default kind of meditation that you listen to online. Like, we know that there's just infinite now. And but the biggest thing here, especially for high functioning adults, people who are perfectionist inclined or just quite, high functioning, you're busy, you're doing a lot, you're holding down a lot, you're supporting a lot of people, blah 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 blah, is that for some reason people have this time thing around meditation, like, oh, I need to meditate for 20 minutes, otherwise I failed. I need to meditate. So Vipassana students, I need to meditate for an hour every morning, an hour every night, otherwise I failed at meditation. It's all this sort of like really rigid black and white. And ultimately, one, create the space. Two, just sit for like a minute, just sit for 30 seconds, just sit for 2 minutes. Like, this whole thing about it has to be 20 minutes or it has to be, the point being, it's that 2 minutes is still better than nothing at all. 30 seconds is still better than nothing at all. Implementing these things in a practical way, but in a manageable and regular way, is a big part of transformation. Transformation, in essence, just means continued change. So it was no meditating, no yoga, none of that. And then after 2 years or 3 years of stretching on a yoga mat every day and sitting quietly every day, it ramps up. Suddenly you're like, wow, I'm so different than I was before. Even in the yoga traditions, they talk about practice, all is coming. It's that really this internal connectivity practice, which I tend to focus on mostly in Spirituality Simplified, but we do cover a lot of this in the Unplugged for Freedom, because the reason they all go together, it's something I highlight in the Unplugged for Freedom course. It's like, we can talk all we like about connection and like, let's sit and meditate and how beautiful is that, but it sort of negates the practice if we're sitting in meditation for 5 minutes and then we go down into the lounge and we turn the TV on. So what happens is that we get calm, we get centered, and then we bombard our field with fear, or we bombard our field with a bunch of political drama that, again, we probably can't do anything about, but it does make us stressed, it does upset us, it does affect and impact our field, our outpouring, our energy, basically, our emotions. So recognizing the validity of unplugging for freedom in alignment with being more conscientious or conscious around the food that we eat. What up, Violet Melon? Being more conscious around the food that we're eating, and taking ownership of the connection piece, taking ownership of, like, you create your own world, so you better make it a good one. You better make it something fun and something beautiful for everybody, or just for yourself. Depending on where we are in our evolution, we can still be having to, like, taper that a little bit. Isn't it funny that we're living in this sort of shifting paradigm of great profound contrast, and that we're having to sort of dig in around compassion and empathy and love and all of these positive qualities which are slowly permeating the collective field. Hello. All of these lovely ideations of you create your own reality, or empowering ourselves, or like, you really can have it all, and all that kind of jargon, and yet there's still such a mass frequency, or mass dominant frequency, of denial, and also just completely veiled. So more people awaken, they're like, what the F do I do with this whole, like, I create my own reality? I would say, like, at this point, personally, like, the Unplug for Freedom is probably the most important course, because we don't realize how much that our plugging into propaganda via that mainstream system is basically affecting our conscious choice making. We think we actually want something. Do you really want that, or are you being sold that? And I probably at this point, like so many of you, can't even quite discern how much clearer our mental scape is based on being unplugged for, I dare I say, most of us here, probably about a decade, right? mental emotional mess, for sure. Because essentially we have to recognize that the propaganda of the mainstream media is literally to create consumers. So, and this is such a poignant piece to the, is it Uranus? I'm sorry. In Taurus, in the shape shifting of the structures of our world, and all of this massive astrology changing 2020, new pillars, building new worlds, you know, shape shifting our structures of the world. And I would say that the propaganda of the mainstream media being dictated to by the world's elite, who are very few in number, once we start to peel back the illusion of that machine, as it were, to propagate the indoctrination of a human consciousness to just make us into robotic consumers, it's a little bit like, whoa, hold the phone there, actually. Screw you guys a little bit, and no thank you. So we think that we're free. But the freedom piece is that, yeah, we're free to be workers in an enslavement system and then buy whatever we want. But the shit that we're being sold to buy isn't even necessarily good for us, right? You know, we're being sold processed food or Mackie D's, which are destroying rainforests to rear cattle, and then to be, you know what I mean? It's all distorted. Our food ways, our actual cravings when it comes to food, because a lot of us, our bodies are a little bit all distorted and messed up because we were sold the processed food that really only had the people in, they're just like, let's make this thing and sell it to people. They're like, mwahaha, like we can just sell them anything. And I think that's a big part of what people are waking up to. Sage, because it's empty. Precisely. Wasn't that in Dante's Inferno? Oh, interesting. Dante's Inferno. The demons with fat bellies but never satisfied. Yeah, and or like that Wall-E show, where like blob humans just riding on our kind of quick hovercraft, individually motorized things, just clicking buttons, buying, consuming more and more and more. And like that's, I think, the whole point of the beingness, the healing, the, you know, so over the years in my own capacity, Wall-E is a really cute little movie, and it does. Wall-E is another kind of social commentary on our, mechanistic enslavement, essentially. So, and there again, it's like empowering the people to awaken to this, and more and more of us, I would say. And I'm not meaning to like trump my own horn, but I'm like, but I do feel I'm really pleased with how I've been guided to create the courses, because I do think they're really powerful change makers for people. In a kind, I guess, and a huge bit for me is like, for not, and I'm not probably that great at it yet, but I'll continue to work on it from within myself. But like, absolutely no judgment, but just here. This is how I live my life, and this is how, dare I say, like, can help you live your life. And the community, y'all who are with me here, again, it's like preaching to the converted already, or preaching to the choir kind of thing. But it doesn't hurt us to kind of noodle over these, and to continue to affirm to ourselves that, yeah, this is definitely the positive change that we want to see, you know, free mind. And that's a big piece of it, is that, again, we're being sold freedom as a construct within an enslavement system. So to be free to buy stuff, all the shiny things and the Coca-Cola and the Mackie D's and all our new technology, to buy all this stuff, you first have to be enslaved in the worker bee system. You know, and then once you're working 9 to 5 or working full time or selling your time and energy for money, then you have the money, you can buy all this stuff, and that means you're free. But that's the illusion of it. That's the veil of the system. The point being is that we're not free as a humanity until we claim freedom in our mind. Until you recognize, am I free to choose or not? And that is a big piece for any of us. I'm still, like, I know that the next phase of my life is like another layer of deepening into self to uproot more compulsion that entangle me in a less than freedom piece. areas of life that I'm not still fully free, that I can still openly and open-heartedly look at that and say, okay, I'm going to endeavor to look at this. Because as long as we're still alive in these bodies, we're still desiring, we're still creating, we're still making manifest aspects of self that are wanting to make manifest. So, desiring our freedom has a lot to do with not being corrupted by people who are, in essence, corrupting our mind to buy their stuff, to think we need that stuff, to think we need the clothes, the makeup, the whatever, in order to be free, when it's not true. Freedom is something we feel from within the self. Freedom is definitely, I would say, a mindscape. It's one thing, yes, we know we're thinking all the time, but what kind of thoughts are you thinking, and do you even know? A lot of us have been empowering positive thinking for many, many, many years. Having an awareness of mind over matter, and then all these years later coming into a broadening quantum knowing that this is the way we create. It's pushing people up against a fence, you could say. When it comes to like, what direction are you going to move in for 2020? Are you just going to keep blindly following the dictatorship of the mainstream media? Are you just going to continue to blindly consume because that's what your parents did, or because that's what society told you was the right thing to do, was the right way to eat, was the right way to consume? I think, like any of us, what continues to happen, our veils get lifted, and this is something that I evolve or die. That's part of the propaganda, and that's part of the story that's actually being told on a binary, weirdly paradoxical sense as well. It's just a matter of buying into the fear or buying into the truth, which is your power. And your power comes from not feeding the power of the old construct, which is separation, which is divide and conquer, which is do or die, that kind of thing. It's always within us as the individual to anchor in our freedom, to pursue our freedom from within the heart, not the mind, or not the mental. Hence even all this emotional healing. Like, we can all do the healing from within self. We don't, but what I'm finding increasingly cool, radical, but very challenging in the way we've been indoctrinated is that it is truly unique. We can't really heal one another in that way. We can only look within the self to heal. And yet we support one another, we love one another, holding space for one another, being unconditional love beacons for one another, knowing that there is only unconditional love. But again, this is something we have to discover within the self. It's one thing for me to really find that unconditional love and compassion for the totality of my own existence, knowing that my own existence is one with all. But having the discernment to go, but not this, but not that, this, like having the freedom of choice, having the freedom of choice before it even comes to making purchases. Right? It's that so many of our lives are dictated to by the busyness of the lives that we're being told to live. It's all an illusion, man. Right. Yeah. That's a reminder as well. I talk about it in the book. Like, the fearful illusion is okay, because here's an example. Is that people have told me my whole life, like, Molly, get real. Like, you have to get with the real world. And over the years, I essentially I'd always like leave those collectives, like leave that person or leave that situation, because I was like, no, you, like, and obviously I'm this person now, and that was maybe 10 years ago or what have you, of going through more life changes and like going, no, I'm not buying into what you dictate is the real world. I don't abide. And the more I learn about conscious creation, I'm like, that doesn't exist. So it's up to you. Like, that's the point of conscious creatorship. I'm like, okay, so the whole of humanity can buy in to a false perception of separation and pretend like the human race is just a big pile of shit and the industry is going to destroy us all. So that's a construct. Like, the real world, you're too shiny, you're too, and this is people, you're too idealistic. Get real, Molly. You're too idealistic. That's not da da da. And I'm like, but here's the point of conscious creation. It's all an illusion. So I can either choose my own love bubble, all to love. You know, I can choose to be hopeful. I can choose to be positive. I can choose to buy in and believe unconditionally into my own well-being, into my own self-love, into my own divine shiny creatorship, my own abundant world, and my world of generosity, and my world of international friends, and my world of international travel in freedom, and my own world of sharing and propagating a Be the Change online courses where I genuinely believe that we ourselves can be the beacon of change that we want to see. Or, wait for it, like that's my illusion. Or I could step in line like everybody else and propagate the illusion of fear and separation. You see? It's all an illusion. Right, exactly. So I'm like, so we're now living at this time where again, it's like this ride or die kind of thing. It's like, so y'all, humans, fellow humans, I know there's a lot of fucking noise out there, and I know there's a lot of information out there, but break it down real simple. Do you want to live in an illusion of fear or an illusion of love? Do you want to live in an illusion of divide and conquer and blame and attack and humanity being so stupid that we destroy ourselves? Thank you, Violet Melon. Or do we want to live in an illusion where humanity awakens and we're like, fuck, what the f? Oh, you know, we awaken and heal and support one another in non-judgment, and then we slowly, gently make the world a better place, and we become better for it. Here's the clincher for everybody. Hey, what up, Sudie Jade? We all feel better. Like, that's like also another a big just human bit about all this. I'm like, so be the change. So unplug, stop buying so much shit that you don't need probably, and or shapeshift, because there's more zero waste shops. So like I genuinely could even up my zero waste game for sure. I always have Katie Finch in the back of my mind, like, because she's the pioneer for the zero waste. She's always there in the back of my mind being like, I need to get this, and I need to do this, and I need to... So there's, you know, but that's part of my, like, always wanting to be mega, honest with all y'all, and that's why Katie and I called it Zenful. Because she's, like, really close to zero waste, but even because she's that anal... she's not 100% zero waste, and she still is like, just be aware that that might not be able to happen until there's a collective uprising in as far as corporate responsibility when it comes to the amount of waste that we're producing as a globe, you know? Seely Jade, hello. I'm loving the laughter. I said something that clearly cracked all y'all up, which is great. What up, Daniel son? How are you? So yeah, I just did a full throttle rant on our consumerist ways and how we effectively can be the change by changing our consumption patterns. All right. And changing our consumption patterns are really intertwined with all of the Be the Change courses. What up, David? David Turnbull. I went to school with somebody with the last name Turnbull. What? So yeah, I'm doing the yearly readings. Unplug. The one thing that I'm well impressed with. So in the book, you guys, I talk about unplug. Unplug is like a preemptive, you know, as much as holding space for your, like getting to know the emotions is basically the it factor. Getting to know your emotions is the it factor, and then right there at the beginning of the book is the unplug. So in my intuitively guided awareness, it was like, y'all, it's great to do meditation, it's great to do this emotional work, but if you're still ingesting the mainstream agenda every day, it's still gonna fuck with you, basically. So in this, the Fearless Life Guide, I'm basically asking y'all to cut out the fear that's being on the daily kind of like that's being permeating our airways, basically on the news, the radio, the news shelves, the magazines, the right? And someone who's not even listened to the radio probably for like over 5 years, it's all becoming more clear. Like, do you like how I'm working it out as I'm sharing? It's like nothing's like set in stone here, y'all. I'm just like working it out as I go along. You guys help. So, and again, I've had readers actually message me, be like, to be honest, I've not been able to read past Unplug because I don't want to unplug. I need to know what's going on in the political world. I need to know what's going on in Brexit, like whatever. And I'm like, okay, that won't necessarily help you live a better life right now, but fair enough. You can't, that's part of, I guess, my own teaching as well about like you can't force people to do stuff. You can't force people to want to become aware of their emotions and or to process any of their emotions. You can't force that in people, but it seems to be a collective agreement around around our healing. And that is a really beautiful thing. The fact that we're all coming into kind of a new collective agreement around the process of healing the body, the mind. And then, I mean, someone like me with Ultra Love will have these additional resources for people to make changes. So if you start to shapeshift your diet, you're going to feel higher vibrational. If you, i.e., start to eat more plant-based, you're going to feel higher vibrational. If you stop watching the news, the clients of mine who have would usually feel like almost instantaneous changes. Like if they're practicing the meditation, the yoga, and then they actually are like, you know what, I'm ready to cut out the mainstream agenda. They stop watching TV, usually within days. They're like, oh, everything's a bit more positive, everything's a bit more technicolor. I'm like, yeah, because you're not being sold the story of how shit life is and how frightening life is. It's addictive stuff sometimes. Hell, Violet Melon for shizzle manizzles. That's why I've got, look, it's what to unplug from. So unplug is like a whole section, right? And then so what to unplug from, and then I have the next section, which is withdrawal. It's like recognize that you're fucking hooked. That you're hooked. Oh, look. That's the first line. I do know my own book. You're hooked on media drama, and depending on your degree of consumption, you will crave its fix. Just like any physical addiction, it's important for you to recognize that media is affecting you. Like we can numb out and turn off to that stuff just as easily as we could taking a Valium or getting drunk, and like, let's be honest as well, in our mainstream cultures, things like alcohol are still a primary fix, where I would be somebody who would propagate plant medicine over alcohol. I'm like, okay, and then all of it is maybe escapism to a certain degree, but I think there are healthier escapist practices. Alcohol completely sparks us out of our awareness, whereas, having a mushroom ceremony or smoking a joint actually helps you come into that. It's still gonna it's still not the ideal, okay? I'm not somebody who wants to propagate that. I'm just somebody who has felt greater harmony in certain practices versus the other. Do I still, yes, there's this beacon of squeaky clean teetotality and like, having no compulsions or no vices whatsoever. But I still do. I like my coffee at midnight, because by the way, I woke up at like midnight today. I still like my coffee, I still like to smoke cannabis from time to time. I still like to have these things. It was more about me radically listening to myself and not pretending like there's some external mold that I'm supposed to be upheld against, that like literally I could just be myself and be free. And like I personally don't think, if there's any dangle carrot, if there's anything that you're like, you have to do it this way, i.e. like the unplug for freedom, or like but that's all part of it, is that I love and respect you guys just for showing up here, just for like finding your way to Ultra Love TV and resonating and hanging out and being here for chats and shits and giggles. That brings joy to my life. That's part of why I know I'm on purpose and doing what I'm meant to do. Beyond that, as a means of economic value for Ultra Love as a business, it's important to have content to sell. That's part of new paradigm percolation. It's like having courses and content and merch and sustainable, all aligning with the company's ethos. you know, to sell stuff to people. So you have an online brand, you wanna sell stuff. I just didn't want to sell shit to people. I wanted to sell something I actually believed in, right? Because I've never really been able to do I've never really been able to work for other people, in fairness. And then I've only ever jobs that I've had for longer than like a day or two, or maybe like a couple months, have always been independent businesses. So I've only ever been able to do independent businesses, and then I've been freelance sole trader for over 10 years. Well over 10 years. I've just been working for myself. And so the next step of like entrepreneurship, I'm now setting up a second business. Anywho, you know, like we just know that the pioneer vibrashe, the director vibrashe, and I wouldn't uphold. It's not like I would expect everybody to drink coffee. You know, I wouldn't expect everybody. You know, but basically, it's like either buy into the fear of everything scary or transform that shiznaz. You know, transform the fear from within stuff, and you'll notice that you'll make different choices. And if you want help making different choices, then buy the Be the Change courses, my lovers. Oh, look, I don't even have the light. I just realized that now. I don't even have light on. Ah! There, now there's the light. I'm like, can you see my face better? Do I look shinier? Is it better for you guys? Anyway, I love you guys too. That was a good blab fest. I knew I wanted to like also share stuff today. It's December 1st. Oh gosh, I wouldn't even realize. I guess I'll do a monthly update at some point. I do have some private readings to do. I need my own business. Yes, Violet Melon. What? Yes, you do. Or skill, you know, when it comes to, I'm just writing Violet for some reason because you're on my mind, like Violet. I'm like, no, that's not the topic share. Sole trader, I don't know what the equivalent is in the United States, but like in this country, it's like freelance. So skills. So for me, knowing that I wouldn't be able to sustain working for other businesses was stepping into sole trader, dance teaching, drama teaching, and then the yoga, and then the empowerment coaching, and then the intuitive coaching, all that kind of stuff. It all one leaned into the other, into then like online marketing or online, not marketing, that's not what I'm doing. I'm doing entrepreneurship, you know, having businesses and products, digital products that ultimately to sell to people online. And the beautiful thing with the Be the Change is that most people around the world could benefit from the Be the Change courses, but they're radical. You guys, sometimes I'm like, I forget that the whole world, or like a bunch of the world is still kind of stepping in line and fitting into status quo and still really care about what other people think and are still in denial of their trauma and or are beginning to be, they're certainly becoming more aware of their trauma but really don't want to fucking deal with it. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's okay. You know, like to each their own kind of thing. But it's just really interesting to have this perspective at this stage. So what I was saying for beautiful Violet Melon, I love that name. I'm thinking of that song. All I can say is that my life is pretty plain. I don't like my point of view. Oh, it's insane. Isn't there Blind Melon? Yes. I'm thinking of that song. It was a tune. I'm trying to think, like, I loved that song for a while. I'm seeing like a little girl in a bee costume as well. So Violet Melon, what I'm getting, you said something like, it's not great working for other people. I think I might need to start my own business. And then I think, but remember, freelance person, I mean, I didn't have my own business properly until 2016. Yeah, the bee girl. I need to look up that video. One of you actually mentioned that video recently, and Blind Melon, yeah, I'm like, it's such a tune. I'm hearing it over in my head now. In the center, oh, I wanna be you if I can. Something like that. Anyway, I'm gonna look it up. Great video too. Jolly good. And now I've got my morning jazzed up. I'm probably gonna do some yoga asanas to some um to some Blind Melon. It's a great escape. Is that a lyric from the song? It's a great escape. See, but don't quote me. I am notorious. People from my childhood would be like, "Oh no, Molly, that's not the lyrics." I'd be like, "Okay." I don't, for whatever reason, retain lyrics to songs. So if I got all of those wrong, then bear with me. It's a great escape, I guess. Um, it's a great escape. Oh, son of someone to save me. Oh, 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 oh. I wanna read you. Okay, well, I'm gonna fucking learn the song, you lovers. Before the lead singer died? Oh no. I didn't know he died. But anyway, we're reliving his energy is present with us today. Clearly. So I'm getting back to Violet. Violet, I've made a note for you, Violet. That you don't. So I set up Ultra Love as an actual limited company, but I gotta be honest, as an entrepreneurial type, me here, entrepreneurial type, I've set up loads. Like I've probably registered like 5 different companies. One has made it. Ultra Love, the one that I'm sort of fiercely committed to. That's the one that sees it through. Other ones I can see myself as consultant and not shareholder in that way, but like somebody setting things up, starting them up for and consulting people in the evolution of their business. Just because I'm that way inclined. And so Violet, what I'm saying is like there can be a bit of a transition around not putting so much pressure on the actual running of a business, but getting yourself set up as a sole trader so at least you can work for yourself as a self-employed person. And that just means having skills, right? Like trade skills, being able to build stuff, being able to share massage or woodwork or plumbing or, you know, like some of those things would require qualifications or just, you know, getting good at stuff, getting good at cleaning, getting good at, you know, there are so many ways I think that we can offer our own services and be a little bit more clear in our exchanges, especially with the shape-shifting of the economy. This is not about fear-mongering, so hopefully you won't take it this way, but like this is, I think, part of the overarching shape-shifting of the world. Well, thank you, pretty profoundly resist. That's me. The shape-shifting of the world. So this is sort of like a predictive message, but this has been coming up in the messages over this time that we've shared together anyway. But like the 2020 astrology and the Uranus and Taurus energy is about shape-shifting our economy. And the shape-shifting of our economy does mean that our value system as a humanity is changing and is going to continue to change. Which means that people in certain positions, that is not gonna last. So just because certain people might have all the world's resources now doesn't mean that's where it's gonna lay for future generations. Shark horns. Oh, it's not fun to have sight. Who's the Taurus horned god? Seen him last night in my room. That's weirdly, Kara. That is so weirdly. Ugh. And my battery's running though. Crochet, weaving, and dyeing techniques. Ooh, that reminds me. I want, there's a painting thing that I want to do. I want to get back into painting, for sure. And crocheting, knitting and crocheting, I wouldn't mind learning as well. The something about the horns and the hammerhead, and I'm like, why is that resonating? I feel like I had a dream about it, or like some kind of, what is that? Taurus horned. I'm not sure. Yeah, I know it's the first one I'm saying. That's the shaman. Yeah. Yeah. There's some kind of, I feel like this is some kind of like weird activation happening. There's a knowing, and I'm seeing the bull. I'm seeing the bull kind of like, something like wrestling it down with love. There's like a stand down type of energy, right? There's also this energy that I'm getting about like passion and love. Yeah. So that's another part of the kind of collective sway. Crown of Thorns. Thanks, Violet. So my lovers, I'm gonna check off because Siberian shamanism. Just because my battery's dying. I might get around to doing one more yearly collective. Leo. I think I just did Leo, so maybe Virgo. Virgo might be the last, but don't worry, I'll get through them probably by the end of the week. These are just yearly generals. They might res with you guys, they might not. What was it? Sorry. In the Crown of Thorns. Shamanism. So huge. Thank you. Thank you so much. Maybe, actually, maybe this is just to do with the kind of the Christ. It's the constellations, the stars, the Star Mother, Dark Rift, Cygnus, 5D. Yeah. Now like there's another layer of noodles. Okay, so I'm just gonna meditate basically and rest and integrate stuff that we just shared and discussed in our noodles this morning. You guys know as well, if you want to join the live share crew, I'd love to have you in the live share crew. We can talk in more depth. We've now, as the live share crew, we have a weekly set time. But for a lot of you guys, these are more than enough live share time for you. I was seeing constellation while meditating the other day. Amazing. What is that? A shower of sorts? Yeah, 5D. It's the constellations, the stars, the Star Mother. Ooh, okay. Lots to noodle on. Definitely. Oh, I love you guys, and I love this community ever so much. It's my life, ultimately. So feel free to check out the Be the Change courses, my lovers. Or book some readings, book some coaching sessions. Actually, I'm meant to have a coaching session with one of your lovers today or tomorrow or at some point this week. It was meant to be yesterday, but we missed the time gap. Anywho, yeah, a plenty to noodle on for sure. Yes, big love to you, Daniel Sun, and all of the rest of you bright ones. Yoo-hoo! I love you guys so much. Really appreciate you showing up here, being the change, being the love that we wish to see in the world, and just supporting each other in this paradigm shift energy. It's fucking wild, right? But there again, there's some affirmation. There's definitely some Taurian shape-shifting, right? So, the structures of our world, basically. And intuitively, we do know the way. So that's where I'm like, I've been talking about this morning already, and I'm like, oh, I just want to sit and meditate and noodle away. I love you guys. Have a beautiful sleep wherever you are in the world. And or a gorgeous day. It is Sunday, so it's a beautiful day, energetically speaking. Today was the first day I actually felt like having a walk or going out. I've been literally indoors. I have a garden, so I can go out into the garden, which gives me outdoor respite with the nature, but I've been in editing caves. I've literally been editing like 10 hours a day for the last week or so. So it was one day off where I had a business meeting, which was also like an 8-hour day. So it's weird. I do this freedom lifestyle and I still end up working. But it's all joyful work, right? It's all joyful service. It's not like I'm complaining. But sometimes I have to be like, wow, en fleur. Sometimes you work a lot en fleur. But I finished the edit, so I'm super chuffed about that. So yay. Yes, I need to hug trees today. We just want to sit, meditate, and possibly journal in this journal. This is my friend and financial advisor who got this for me. Like these are my professional accountant, financial advisor. They get me presents like this. Stardust and magical things. I'm like, you know me too well. So, anywho, yeah, I love you guys. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for being here. I have so much love and appreciation for you, and this too. Gratitude. And then, yeah, I'll look over, sit with the constellations as well. Right. Off I go. Batteries getting low. Love you guys. Sleep well, and I'll speak to you real soon. Peace.